Right now, though, let's talk about the transition team. You folks know, and I've been telling you regarding the media, that back during the primaries, the media was very soft on Donald Trump. They were. Even though they had all kinds of nasty stuff against him, trust me when I tell you this, all of the ugly things that Donald Trump said, the crude comments or whatever, the press had that stuff during the primaries, but they didn't play it during the primaries because they desperately wanted Donald Trump to get the nomination on the assumption that they'd be able to derail any campaign of his. He gets the nomination, and then they'll make sure that Hillary Clinton beats him because they're going to come out with all this kind of nasty stuff. Look at this audio tape of crude, vulgar comments that he made 11 years ago and just all that kind of stuff. So they were convinced that they had enough to completely sink him. That's why they wanted him to get the nomination. And that's why I told you folks during the primaries, look, the press is having a love affair with Donald Trump right now. But believe me, as soon as he gets the nomination, everything changes. Well, and that's exactly what happened. Everything changes. Well, now that Donald Trump has been elected president, the press, they're going to do everything they can to try to paint him in a positive light. We've seen this already with Stephen Bannon. We've talked about that the last couple of days, right? The former head of Breitbart. Oh, let's paint him as an anti-Semite. That's what we'll do. Yeah, he doesn't like Jewish people. He's an anti-Semite. Until suddenly a whole bunch of the biggest names and Jewish leaders in America come out and say, are you kidding me? This guy's not anti-Semitic. There's no evidence for that at all. So it kind of blows up in the face of the media. They're going to continue to do that. Every single person that Donald Trump names, the media is going to scrutinize them in a way to determine, is there somehow, some way we can brand them as some type of an ugly type person, either a racist or a sexist or a homophobe or a bigot or a xenophobe or something. They'll find somehow, some way to do that, unless the person is a centrist, moderate person like Reince Priebus. So here's the latest thing that they're doing in the press. They're claiming that Donald Trump's transition is in disarray. Oh, my goodness. You know, there's people that, Ben Carson has turned down any kind of administration role in the transition team. And there's been a couple of people who have left now, and Chris Christie got fired. And, oh, my goodness, Donald Trump is mismanaging the whole thing. And you know what this is all about? An effort to try to make him look like he would be a lousy president, that he's in over his head, and that people will get buyer's remorse regarding Donald Trump. And what I'm telling you folks is, it's absolutely bogus. Even the New York Times, the ultra-left-wing New York Times, who has been so in the tank for Hillary Clinton and the Democrats for years, even they just ran an article kind of putting this claim into perspective, going, okay, well, in all fairness, all presidential transitions, all of them have bumpy rides and bumpy roads, and you have to fire people and make changes, and there's horse trading and deal making and all that kind of stuff. Some people quit. Some people are like, no, I want this position. You're not going to give me this position? No, you're offering me this position? No, forget it then. Well, I'm just going to quit. That happens in every transition. Donald Trump's is no different. But here's the thing about Trump. For all of his strengths and for all of his weaknesses, and Donald Trump has weaknesses, we all know about that, okay? And certainly thinking on his feet, debate prep, all that kind of stuff, these are strong weaknesses on Donald Trump's part. But let's face it, you know what Donald Trump's strengths are as a multi-billion-dollar successful businessman? You know what his strengths are? Deal making, horse trading, and management. Organizing management structures. This is what this guy does for a living. This is what he spent his entire career doing, organizing management structures. That happens. I mean, even in the reality shows, The Apprentice and such, you get the backbiting and the infighting and the people getting fired and the changes having to be made, and that's all part of building any kind of organization. What the press is doing is looking at anybody who leaves Donald Trump's transition team, or anybody who gets fired, or anything at all that doesn't go perfectly smooth, and they're turning this into some kind of big example of how his whole transition team is in disarray, out of control, and he's in over his head. It's absolute nonsense, folks. Every single presidential transition goes through all of this. Even the liberal left-wing New York Times acknowledges that. But here's the other thing that we're hearing from the press. Their evidence that he's in such disarray right now. They point out that, do you know, it's been over a week now. It's been over a week since he won the election. And look at all of these cabinet positions he hasn't even filled yet. All these different positions that he's only filled 2 positions, right? He's filled White House Chief of Staff in Reince Priebus, and he's filled a senior advisor or counselor in Steve Bannon. And that's it. And the other people he's been interviewing for the last few days. So, oh my goodness, he's still got so many positions to fill, and he hasn't even done them yet. It's because of all the disarray in his administration. I want to read to you an interesting piece from People's Pundit Daily. They point out some stuff that I think really puts this into proper context. Here's the headline, quote, "Media hysteria over Trump transition is not historically factual. President-elect Trump and Vice President-elect Pence are actually on par with past presidential transitions. Media headlines suggest the Trump transition team is in disarray, going a week without an additional appointment. But a look at past transitions show that President-elect Donald Trump is actually right on pace. Thus far, Trump has already announced the appointment of 2 posts, Reince Priebus as White House Chief of Staff and Steve Bannon as Special Counsel or Chief Strategist. However, the most recent example of a presidential transition team was Barack Obama in 2008. Well, the mainstream media didn't seem to care that President-elect Barack Obama didn't make his first appointment until the 3rd week after getting elected. And he only made 1 appointment. The following week, he made 4, then 2, then 4, following with another 4 in the 7th week. So here's what they pointed out. That they went back through the presidents all the way back to Richard Nixon. Now, I want you folks to keep in mind, the media is saying that Donald Trump is mismanaging the transition and it's in disarray because he's only named 2 people in week 1. In week 1, he's only named 2 people. That's it, after 1 week. So let's go back through the numbers. Barack Obama, week 1, 0 people. Week 2, 0 people. Week 3, 1 person. Then week 4, 4 people, and that's when it started filling in. Okay? Bush, 43. George W. Bush. Week 1, 0 people. Week 2, 0 people. Week 3, 0 people. Week 4, 0 people. Week 5, 0 people. Week 6, 1 person. So George W. Bush took 6 weeks before he named his first appointment in his administration. Before he named his first. Where was the talk about the lack of transition? And no, folks, it takes a few weeks to get this going. Bill Clinton. Let's go through Bill Clinton's numbers. When Bill Clinton was first elected president, the transition was happening from George H.W. Bush, Bush 41, to Bill Clinton. He gets elected in November. How many people did he name to his administration in week 1? 0. Week 2, 0. Week 3, 0. Week 4, 0. Week 5, 0. Week 6, 4. Bill Clinton took 6 weeks before he named his first person. Bush 43 took 6 weeks before he named his first person. Barack Obama took 3 weeks before he named his first person. And here's what we're hearing. Oh, by the way, Ronald Reagan, in all fairness, also took 6 weeks before he named his first person. Jimmy Carter took 5 weeks before he named his first person. Richard Nixon took 6 weeks before he named his first person. So I want to make sure everybody's clear on this. You know what the average is for incoming presidents? To take a good 5 or 6 weeks, interview people, figure out who how you're gonna position your chess pieces, and then after about 5 or 6 weeks, start actually filling positions. That's what's normal. Barack Obama was faster than normal, naming somebody after 3 weeks. And here's the thing, folks. Right now, the press is making a big deal out of the fact that Donald Trump, after 1 week, has, quote, only named 2 people. Do you see how dishonest this is, folks? This is the reason why people like me and so many other conservatives rip on the mainstream media as we do. All this talk about, quote unquote, disarray, right? Every presidential transition team is going to have bumpy rides as part of it. Every single one is going to have disgruntled people that didn't get positions that they wanted and end up leaving the campaign or end up leaving the administration and say, well, I don't want a position at all. They either quit the transition team themselves or they end up getting fired. That happens all the time. This is Donald Trump's world. This is his expertise, folks. Building an organization, building a management structure, this is what Donald Trump does for a living. So I am not even remotely concerned about Donald Trump's ability to pull this together. Anyway, I mean, if you really think about it, folks, when Barack Obama was elected president in 2008, he had 0 management experience. He had never run any kind of business ever, not even a lemonade stand. He went from being a junior senator, that's right, a first-term junior senator, to suddenly president of the United States. Do you know that in Barack Obama's entire resume, the biggest thing on his resume was running for president? That was actually the biggest organizational structure in his entire career. His entire resume was running for president. And then when he got elected in 2008, the biggest thing on his resume was putting together a transition team. He was figuring it out, and he'd never done anything like this before. Trump comes into this with decades of experience of putting together organizational structures that involve thousands and thousands and thousands and even tens of thousands of people. This is what he comes into this doing. This is his world. So I laugh at the media when they try to claim that Donald Trump is in disarray in this kind of thing. You're gonna have changes and people quitting and people being disgruntled and people getting fired and positions changing and what that's gonna happen. It always happens. But the press is treating it like it's something new with Donald Trump. All right, what about South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley? Could she be Secretary of State? Talk about this next here on the Bob Dutko Show.